Good afternoon and welcome to Let's Talk Bayfront, a monthly lunchtime chat about different aspects of the Bayfront Parkway Central Corridor Improvement Project planned for the City of Erie. I'm your host, Jill Harry. I am the Press Officer and Community Relations Coordinator for the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation's Northwest Region. The Bayfront Parkway Central Corridor Improvement Project. It's almost like a tongue twister. It's a big project with lots of components. The aim of this program is to break that down into smaller pieces and invite some experts to come in and help us dive deeper into individual topics so that we can have a greater understanding of what the project aims to do and where we are in the process. Earlier, we recorded an introduction session to give listeners a high-level overview of the whole project. So if you're new and you're still learning about what the project is, I would encourage you to head over to the webpage, which is www.penndot.gov/district1. And then you can check out that recording. It's a great overview of what all is included in this project. But for today, we're going to discuss just one aspect of the project, and that is the public involvement survey that was done in connection with the project. So this was done back in fall, and we're going to talk about the results from that. So anyone who is listening live can use the Q&A box to ask questions about this subject. As time allows, we'll try to answer as many of those that we can as long as they pertain to the topic at hand. If you're listening to the recording after the fact, you can still send us questions at bayfrontparkwayproject@pa.gov. If you need to, you can turn on live captions in a variety of languages. So just click on the three dots there. You'll see them at the top of your screen, and then you can choose any language that works best for you. We are recording this session, and we will be posting it there on Penndot's Bayfront page here as soon as we can. So now that we've got all of that introductory stuff out of the way, let's get down to today's topic and our guest, who is Penndot Project Manager Tom McClelland. Hi, Tom.
Hey, Jill, how are you?
Pretty good. Thanks for joining us again today. Tom was our guest for our introductory session as well, but he's come back today to talk to us about the survey. So before we really get into that topic in general, Tom, why don't you go ahead and kind of give us a little bit about your background with Penndot and traffic engineering in general.
Sure. Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Tom McClelland. I'm the Assistant District Executive for Design here at Penndot, and I've worked here for about 26 years. Started off in construction and worked doing inspection for the first couple of years, but my true love and what I specialized in college was traffic engineering. And when I started working at Penndot, I knew that's where I wanted to be. So in traffic, I got to work on many different types of projects, whether it's signing, traffic signals, working with municipalities on speeding issues and things like that. So I was initially involved with this study of the Bayfront, which began in 2015. Mark Nicholson was our original project manager. And kind of some of the unique things about that I remember is it was our first use of Bluetooth technology to capture, when everybody has a cell phone, and if it's able to be, read, or you have the location services turned on, Penndot could anonymously use that data to kind of figure out, okay, how long does it take to get from point A to point B? What's their destinations? And, that was one of the first instances where we use that technology to help us figure out traffic patterns. We also, use the internet with our public involvement, which I know we're talking about here today. So the outreach efforts of the Bayfront, that initial study, we had over 500 hits on our webpage identifying different issues that people had. So I mean, it was definitely a good tool to use, back then, and we're continue to use it to this day. Using the most technology we can to gather the most information.
So let's kind of start, I guess, more on a general sense, and then we'll get kind of into the nitty gritty of the Bayfront survey in particular. So kind of maybe give us an overview of why does Penndot even do public surveys?
Yeah, that's a great question, and the answer really is we want to hear from the public and get the local flavor of things. I mean, yes, it is a requirement through NEPA to have public involvement on all levels, but we at Penndot don't always live in an area or familiar with it. So, we try to get that local flavor, that local input to hear what goes on. The Bayfront, it's a pretty major roadway in Erie County. Obviously a lot of people have a good idea how that operates, but there was always things to learn. And even at our first couple sessions we had with public involvement, we learned about the connectivity of pedestrians north and south. And this project needs to provide those connections from the city grid to the water for pedestrians and bikes. So that was a little eye-opening for some of us. And we can't fix things and make things better unless we know about it. So going out for public involvement and these public surveys are really important.
Well, from personal experience, I know that PennDOT has done surveys through different methods. Sometimes it's face-to-face, sometimes it's online only, sometimes it's a combination, and it just kind of changes from project to project. So how does PennDOT decide what kind of survey they're going to do for the different project?
Yeah, we have some base questions we ask on every single project, but really COVID-19 has kind of changed how we engage with the public as the different platforms that we use. And actually it's making it better in the long run. Not everybody can make a certain meeting at a certain time, or maybe if you're a snowbird and maybe you're down in Florida and you can't participate in a meeting we're having in the winter, let's say, having like the internet-based way to provide public input is definitely the way to go. I mean, we've gotten comments from all over the country on not just this project, but other projects in our district. So that doesn't mean we're going to use the internet exclusively, because it's very important still to meet out face to face and have those opportunities to talk, because not everybody has the technology. We recognize that as well. So we're still going to be coming out and doing face to face. So I think a lot of things are going to be blended in the future. Just again, trying to gauge that feedback the best we can.
Okay, so now let's talk Bayfront in particular, because that's the name of this program. So you did a recent survey, and it's not the first time you've asked the public for feedback on that project. So what kind of feedback did we get earlier, or when did we ask for feedback, and what made you want to go back and do it again?
Yeah, well, like I mentioned earlier, the original study we did was back in 2015. We had a public meeting one night at the Bayfront. It was like June or July. It was a very nice night. And we also had a web page where people could put what they called pins. Like it was just a note on a map to show what their concern was or what their suggestion was. And we did that and got a lot of good feedback. And then the Central Bayfront became the priority project for the region. So once that happened, we knew we had to re-engage the public with some more detailed information and some different things, whether it's a roundabout or a traffic signal at some of the intersections. So we had some full day open houses where people could pop in on their leisure, sometime between noon and 8 p.m. and provide us feedback. Again, that was probably 2018 timeframe. And then in 2019, when we're finalizing our preliminary engineering effort again, just to say, hey, here's the roundabouts, just another time for the public to come out and take a look at, what we have. And then again, here, we were just out here in September, as you mentioned, where we did the virtual public meeting over the lunch hour, like we're doing today. And then we also had the in-house open house too, that same afternoon from like 3 to 7. So, like I mentioned earlier, combining that virtual meeting over the lunch hour and following up with an open house, that it seemed to work well. And we got over 500, comments from the survey online, which was wonderful, for just opening, we get comments all the time too, but, just for that effort. And again, we went out because we had new information to share. We had the pedestrian bridge and some renderings of it, and wanted to get that feedback on that pedestrian bridge. The other thing we were looking for this last effort was aesthetics, as far as the walls that we're going to be, the retaining walls that we're building. So, we wanted to see if people wanted lighting on the wall, or vegetation, or natural earth elements, or murals, all those things. Again, we can't make everybody happy, and we can't promise that we're going to do all that stuff. But I think it's very important to see what the concerns are, what people are interested in, and try to make the project part of theirs, because they live there, they work there, they go there. So
500, that must have been quite almost overwhelming, but encouraging at the same time. 500 different voices all speaking up on the same topic.
Yeah, it's definitely really good to get feedback, whether it's positive or even negative. It's just good that people care and listen to what you have to say, and and offer their ideas as well.
So what was the general consensus? What did you guys learn from sorting through all 500 of those respondents?
Yeah, luckily in the age of computers, you can do a lot of sorting, and the online type of comments can all be sorted and addressed, and then the ones we received by hand, we populated back in with those. But as far as our goal was to see what kind of pedestrian bridge people wanted over at Holland, that was a lot of the main focus. And everybody, the majority seemed to gravitate toward the keeping the nautical theme of the Erie Bayfront area, and looking at the pedestrian bridge that has the cables on it. That really kind of drove to the top of the list as far as one of the ones. We did have a lot of comments too on just the basic bridge too, but the one, like I mentioned, with the sailboat looking one, was the one that really came out in the public. So that was good. We're on the right track. It kind of validates kind of some of the stuff we're doing. And then, like with the aesthetics, people did like the natural earth elements. They like green space, and I know we've heard a lot about the wall in front of the convention center at Sassafras that's there right now. Everybody's familiar with the big 30 to 40 foot high wall that's there, that the traffic signal pole comes out of. That's kind of like I'm not going to say eyesore, but people see that, and we're actually going to be putting a rain garden in there along with the roundabout, kind of in front of it. So it's gonna help to, not say hide that, but cosmetically make it more green in that area. So again, getting back to the aesthetics, and getting everyone's opinions is, those are some good things, and those are the things that the team got out of the surveys.
I'm sure you're talking of these are the things that people picked. I'm sure that some people also voiced that there was things that they just did not like. Is it a mixture, or did you mostly hear positive feedback?
It is always a mixture, but you take the good with the bad, and you can imagine all the sort of things you get when you go ask for public comment. I mean, you get good things, you get negative things. Some are silly, some people try to be funny, and sometimes there's crude stuff as well, but we all take it in, and it all becomes part of the project, and consensus, and form that consensus of what people are looking for, or that overall picture of the Bayfront. And like I said before, I know we can't make everybody happy all the time. That's human nature. But the main thing for Penndot is we want to make sure we're addressing safety and following all our proper procedures when it comes to making an investment, and with the Bayfront, such a big investment in the community. There's always times where people will push back on your ideas or your agenda, but I guess I want to stress to the listeners out there that even if you're happy with a project, don't just sit back. Get engaged, because we like to hear from everybody. I mean, it's probably human nature to only hear from, or to squawk or make concerns when you don't like something, but it's always important to give your feedback, even if you agree with a project. And we did get a lot of that this time, which was nice too, so it's been a really interesting project.
So once you've completed surveys like this, especially for a project of this size, I mean, it's got its own website, it's going to be multi-years, it's going to have a huge impact on the community and even the region. So you've gathered this large amount of public feedback. Can people review that so they can understand what their neighbors want?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've posted the feedback. It's available through our main website for the project, which is www.bayfrontparkwayproject.com. So all the project information is there, including our past public involvement efforts and outreach that we've done. The renderings of the intersections are there. The 3D simulations, whether you're a pedestrian on the corridor or you're a vehicle, are there. And what I tell people too is a lot of questions can be answered in our frequently asked questions section. A lot of people have the same concerns and questions, and we attempt to, I encourage people to take a look at them and look at those. So a lot of good information out there.
So I'm going to kind of maybe take a little step back here again. And so mentioned this a little bit ago here about like the importance of not just speaking up if you dislike something. So say someone finds out that there's going to be a project in their community or a project along their typical commute to work, and they're actually like interested, not just because they're upset, but because they just want to know, like, oh, wonder what they're doing at that bridge and things like that. So what do you think people should do if they find out, well, there's a project's coming, they're holding public involvement now?
Yeah, I always tell people learn as much as you can and get involved. Like I said earlier, make sure that we understand what the concerns and needs are there, and we're addressing them the best we can through that project. We don't always live in a community, and not all the team members do. So, it's important to make sure that, if there are needs out there or things we're not aware of, please tell us. And, if we're on the right track and you're happy, and you understand what we're doing and it makes sense, we like to hear that too, just to, it validates what we're up to.
That's a good point, Tom, that we don't, as much as we would like to know the ins and outs of every community, we have a large area. Maybe some people don't realize, like, it's not just, we're not just in Erie and we're not just in Sharon. We're in all of that 6-county area. So it's a lot of communities to balance and to understand. So I guess, like Tom was saying, I'll just reiterate, it's your community. So you speak up for it, make sure we know what's important to your community when we come to do these projects.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I just want to take a moment to remind everybody, if you're listening and you have a question, you can go ahead and put it in the Q&A box. You'll find that on the right side of the screen there. So if you pop it in there and it's about public involvement or surveys, we'll certainly try to answer it during the program. But on that note, I got a few more questions for you. So
okay.
You talked about the bridge and stuff like that. So you said that there was a lot of people who spoke, who answered that they liked the cable stay bridge, but then there were some who liked the more basic bridge. So how do you make a decision then when you can only do one design? So when some people say they like one, and if more people say they like another, how do you just determine which one to go with?
Yeah, that's a great question. It does come down to the community, but it also, there's a little aspect to it of when you look at any type of asset that's out there, there's a maintenance component to it. Who's going to be maintaining that item after it's all said and done? Whether it's a bike trail, a traffic signal, a roundabout. Penndot, allows local authorities to kind of maintain that stuff afterwards. So, it's Penndot can only kind of front the design and the construction costs, for a lot of the things. So the maintenance aspect of these things need thought of, and that comes into the decision making too. You find who's going to maintain those devices. So the city of Erie's been a great partner on the project here, and they've worked with us on the maintenance agreements on these items. So, they definitely get a final say on what they're going to maintain, and and what for their budgeting purposes as well.
So I guess to go with that, then kind of I'll be the devil's advocate. Like, so you take the survey results, you get this feedback, but does it really affect the project? A lot of people kind of have that attitude, maybe that we've already made up our mind, or it's a done deal, as some people like to say. But, how does the survey actually, affect the project?
Yeah, yeah, it's funny you bring up the done deal. I hear that a lot of times at the meeting and at any meeting that we go out to the public, and it's never really a done deal. And we definitely take the comments seriously. We'll go out to a meeting and maybe not so much on the Bayfront, but any big changes up there. But once talking with the local officials and the public, we might learn something about the fire department that they need access on a bridge that we thought we'd close down, and we might have to build that bridge now half width, or there could be other issues as far as that again that we're unaware of. Going into the meeting, we think we have a good idea of how we want to do something, but again, talking to somebody with that local flavor. So detours have changed on also whether it's an intersection improvement project becomes a roundabout or just a traffic signal. We've had a lot of back and forth with a lot of municipalities on that, especially in the early stages of roundabouts where people didn't really understand them and were afraid of them a little bit. There's probably a couple intersections that probably nowadays we could probably look at making a roundabout there, and I think it's possible that the next time we go through these places, that we can make some of those changes. So it's definitely interesting to get that feedback, and and we do hear people, and we do listen and make changes, as appropriate.
So this is kind of a larger question here. I'm sure that sometimes we open up these surveys or these public feedback efforts, and what we actually hear from folks has nothing to do with that particular project. So what do we do with those comments? So say someone gets in, takes the Bayfront survey, but what they really write is that they wish that someone would come out and clean the ditch out in front of their house.
Yeah, yeah. Almost every public engagement I've been to, there's always comments that are unrelated to the project. They may not be in the right area or context, but what we do is we try to be good stewards of the public, and what we do is we try to take that concern to its rightful owner if we know enough about the situation. So if it's something that Penndot can fix, if a road needs patched and it's a Penndot road or potholes are here, we take that and we give it to our maintenance unit, who might not be at that public meeting. If it's an issue that isn't Penndot's and it's maybe a local municipality issue, we work again with the local municipality partners. We definitely don't ignore feedback that we're getting. So we, and again, it comes down to treating people right and providing that good customer service that I think we're known for.
So last question. You get online to fill out one of these surveys, but you want to give your comments. You don't want to leave your name for whatever reason. Are you required to do those kinds of things, identify yourself in order to give feedback?
No, you don't have to give us your contact info. I know some people are afraid about that, but the only thing I would ask you to think about is, if you have a good idea and it's something that maybe we need a little bit more information from you on, we'd like to maybe contact you to ask maybe an additional question. And if we don't have that contact info, we can't close that loop there. We don't publish the names of the people and their comments, and we try to keep that separated. Keeps a level of anonymity there. But if we need to get a hold of you on something, then it's great that you leave your contact information there, either a phone or an email address, or however you want to be contacted.
So thanks, Tom. This has been a lot of great information. And I'm going to try to summarize it all into one sentence because that's what I try to specialize in. So Penndot surveys and projects for that matter work best if the community gets involved.
I like
You
it.
think- Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you again, and thank you to everybody who joined us for Let's Talk Bayfront. Make sure you check out the Bayfront Parkway Project Facebook group and the project website. There you'll find links to this recording once it's ready to post, as well as links for our future episodes, which will be at 12:05 p.m. on the third Tuesday of every month. So we've already got our topics set up for the next few months. We're going to have Justin Baker on December 21st, and he's going to give us an update on the bridge that we are building there behind the Soldiers and Sailors home up in Erie. That's a supplemental project to the Bayfront and kind of allows us to make some of those really big changes that we have in store for the Bayfront. So we're going to get an update on where that is in the construction process. And then in January, we're going to sit down and have a talk with Jim O'Mara from MS Consultants, and he's going to break down the bike and ped aspects of the project. So what kind of improvements should the pedestrians and the cyclists who like to use the Bayfront, what should they be anticipating and, getting excited about? So hope everyone's able to tune in for those great discussions and bring some questions with you or send them ahead of time there to the email address. And then we'll see you then and have a great afternoon. Thanks, Tom.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.